it just means more, or at
That's
least it doesn't this year, because the Big Ten is ruling the roost when it comes to preseason rankings and awards. So CBS Sports did this little awards thing. I know
mhm.
I like like this little awards thing. CBS Sports, whatever. So they have crowned the Big Ten champs of a lot of things, including preseason player of the year Jeremiah Smith, Ohio State receiver, which is not a huge shock. He probably will win a ton of awards. But James Franklin named preseason coach of the year. And I've made my jokes about like this is, his peak of success is before the season starts. He has the talent, he's a great recruiter. But let me ask you this, because this is the big question that I think everybody's been asking during the offseason. Do you believe James Franklin can win the big game?
I think this team can win a national championship. It's not just James
In
Franklin.
spite of James Franklin?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
Okay.
this team was one terrible decision from Drew Aller, probably away from playing Ohio State in the national championship game last year. So, and they bring essentially, other than Abdul Carter and Tyler Warren, which I realize are two massive pieces, but they essentially bring the same team back this year. A more experienced Aller, the same running backs, maybe a better offensive line, to be totally honest. So I don't think there's much James Franklin can do to screw this up. And they should be right there in the Final Four at the end. And if they're not, you think people scream for James Franklin's head all over Pennsylvania now? Just wait. They've Final Four is bare minimum expectation for this team this year. And I think it's why, look, the Big Ten itself has two national championship contenders in it, right at the top of the conference. You mentioned Jeremiah Smith. Ohio State is the other team, obviously. Ohio State and Penn State, two national championship contenders. You've got two more teams that I think are looking like at least 10-win teams, right? Oregon and Michigan, I would say. And then there's, I would say, probably three other college football playoff possibilities there, at least. Illinois, sorry, Jake, Indiana, and USC, who may actually be better on defense this year than offense. I know that sounds weird to people, but they've got 7 teams that could be in the playoff. Now, I will say, I don't think that makes them necessarily better than the SEC. I think the SEC is probably deeper, especially when we talk about in the middle of the conference. The SEC, when you get beyond the 3 national championship contenders of Texas, Bama, and Georgia, has probably 7 other teams that you could make an argument could be in position for a playoff spot at some point this year. So I think the SEC might be deeper when we're talking about playoff caliber teams, but I think the Big Ten has a better chance to win the national championship this year.
It feels like we're living in the upside down, because now this is the headline that I'm reading. Is the question that is the Big Ten now getting too much hype? And like you kind of answered it. You said, Big Ten probably going to win a national championship here. But do you think this is going to be a trend for the next few years? Or do you think the SEC reclaims the throne? Because I think when you have not had a national championship, and I know this sounds bizarre, like in 2 years, but still, it does feel like they're no longer the king of the hill anymore. Do you think that continues, or do you think that like the power balance somehow shifts over the next couple of seasons to where the SEC, little old SEC, is back in the hunt?
No, I think that, well, look, they've got 3 national championship contenders themselves, like I said, although I don't believe as much in Georgia as some other people do. I think Texas and Bama, obviously, if Arch actually sticks around for another year, obviously that keeps Texas in the conversation. And Bama, if Kalen DeBoer finds the year 2 magic that he's found at his other stops, they're going to be in the conversation. Oklahoma, LSU, A&M, Florida, Tennessee, Ole Miss, South Carolina, all in the conversation for playoff spots too. The SEC is not going anywhere. I don't think there's this massive shift or in the balance of power. It's still the big 2, and then kind of everybody else. I think more interesting to me this year, Chelsea, will be the Big 12 and the ACC. The Big 12, I think, is a one-bid league, for lack of a better way to put it, or to use a basketball phrase that we use come March Madness time. I think whoever just comes out of that conference that will probably, it'll all cannibalize each other. You'll have one Big 12 team. But I think there are some ACC teams that are worth keeping an eye on. I've had some good feelings about Florida State. I think last year was a blip on the radar. Clemson's a national championship contender. Georgia Tech could be a surprise team for a playoff spot. So SMU's still there too. They bring the quarterback back. So the ACC could surprise some people. But, I mean, the pecking order is going to stay the same. Big 10 and SEC, ACC and Big 12, and then everybody else.
Or if you're rooting for like drama in this dynamic of the rivalry between the Big 10 and the SEC, what happens if Notre Dame wins it? Like, which conference is like, well, we've had the better year? Which, because people have said, I've seen like several people, including Phil Steele, who is like the godfather of college football, saying that Notre Dame is a legitimate title contender. And the odds kind of reflect that. 12-1 over at BetMGM to win the national championship. I think Marcus Freeman's a great head coach. I think that a lot of this for me hinges on if Texas lives up to the hype. If Texas lives up to the hype, I think everybody else is playing for second place. But that is a lot of hype and a lot of expectations that people are putting on Texas right now, and a lot that we are putting on the shoulders of Arch Manning, who really has not played that much in college football. I know he's a Manning, but still, like, I don't think it's one of those things where you can just assume, like, oh, well, he's going to be perfect and he's going to lead us to a national championship. So I think a lot of it is, relatively speaking, if Texas lives up to that, I don't know if these other teams can win, but, you know, those are really lofty expectations.
Yeah, look, Texas is right up there with Penn State, Ohio State, and probably Notre Dame as one of the most talented teams in the country. When you look at a prospective Final Four and what it should look like, it's those four and Clemson. I should include them as well. Like, I think there are five teams that I look at as, okay, these are the five most talented teams. There's only going to be four of them left when we get to the final 2 weeks. It's more a question of who's the odd man out. And I think Notre Dame definitely belongs in the conversation. You bring Jeremiah Love back, like, that is absolutely huge. So, and that defense is ridiculous. So that would be hilarious if all this bickering back and forth between the Big Ten and SEC fan bases and Notre Dame just snuck right in there.
Because it's been a while. I also think it's very funny how, like, when Texas and Oklahoma joined the SEC, the rest of the SEC was like, oh, you're not going to make it around here. To now, if Texas wins a national championship, you damn well know they're going to be claiming that as a national championship.